Morning to you, Murray. The reason I say it's not a difficult read, because this is aimed at youngsters, but it's helping parents understand the importance of protection when it comes to their digital environments. Where did the idea come from? Morning.
You know, I think there's a growing awareness, as you say, of the importance of privacy and of digital security for grown-ups, for kids. And, you know, there's lots of material out there. There's research reports, there's news reports, there's policy documents. But it just felt like if this is an issue that affects everyone, we need to communicate in a way that doesn't shut people out. And there's only so many research reports that the average person can read. And so I thought, why don't we do it in a way that's more fun? Why don't we do it in a way that brings kids into the story as well? And as much as these are serious topics, you can talk about it in ways that are fun and raise awareness in ways that are joyful, and that's what I wanted to do.
While you just tell me a little bit about where the story actually takes us, Murray, I'm going to just ask one of our camera guys just to give us a sense of with the pages on you. I mean, it's quite an illustrative book. Obviously, there isn't much text, and you've written it in a way that helps parents translate the story to their kids, but also the kids themselves can actually read it as well. So just take me through the story. Give me the narrative, if you will, on Boris the BabyBot.
Of course. So the story follows a baby tracking robot, a BabyBot, whose sole purpose is to track and monitor babies. He scans their faces, he scans he monitors their activities, he sends reports about each baby's activities off to a factory that uses it to generate money and analyze reports on which babies it likes and doesn't like. And the BabyBot finally has a crisis when he meets a baby that can't be tracked, and ultimately this BabyBot must find a purpose beyond his life of tracking babies. But of course the real purpose here, as much as silly as that sounds, is to start to raise awareness or spark some kind of awareness for children about what a process of data collection could look like. Obviously, if parents are trying to start a conversation with their kids about how the technology they're interacting with, what is sort of happening in the hidden world behind that technology, it's very difficult for children to start to imagine that process. And as much as this book doesn't deal with that in a technical way, it starts to give some sort of narrative and visual reference point for children to start to imagine that.
And I think it's an important topic to discuss, and I like the way the book is titled A Little Book About Big Data. And I think because if you look at the age groups that this book is targeting, Murray, I imagine it's somewhere in between the ages of sort of 3 to maybe 6 to maybe 7. Many years ago, you and I might have said, well, it's a bit young for children to be worrying about data collection and how are they interacting with technology. But you and I go to any restaurant in the country these days, and you'll find most toddlers sitting on either their cell phone, their little tablet, or even their parents. And heavens knows what they're actually getting themselves into when they're playing around and pressing buttons.
Absolutely. You know, there's a growing awareness, and I think any parent can tell you that children are starting to interact with digital devices at a very early age, and in some cases before they're even fully able to walk. And it would be up to every parent to decide for themselves how to set the sort of rules of the household around technology and how to open these conversations. And this is really just a story that I hoped would be able to spark that conversation and would give parents a few more tools to start to shape children's awareness. Of course, it's not just about individuals' choices about their own devices, but really about also trying to shape our collective conversation as a society about how we want to interact with technology going forward. What kinds of laws do we want? What kinds of businesses are we going to support? What kinds of political party positions do we want? All of that stuff is serious things. We're not going to ask 6-year-olds to have those conversations, but we do need to bring them into the first part of that conversation. And I thought a children's book would be one way of contributing towards that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, often when children are sitting with their parents and their parents are saying, don't do this, don't do that, it's just mom or dad yelling. Now you've turned it into a book that they could possibly read as well. It seems there's quite a bit of international interest. Tell me about the funding you got from this book. I'm looking at some of the write-up here, and I'm seeing countries like Japan and New Zealand, Murray, that were involved in getting this book out. So it's not just a topic for South Africans within South Africa. It seems there's a bit of an international interest and flavour.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is an issue that really does affect, it goes across all borders, unfortunately, and it was really great to see how many people from different countries got behind the idea. How it was published was I raised the funds through a crowdfunding campaign on the Indiegogo website and opened it up to international contributions, and there were hundreds of contributions, as you said, from across the world. South Africa obviously being a big part of that. Nearly 50% of the contributions came from here at home, but we had contributions from the United States, from Europe, as you said, from New Zealand, from Japan, all over. And that was really exciting, and I think it really underscores the extent to which this is an issue that we all need to be thinking about more and talking about more. And to the extent that we can do it in ways that are joyful and delightful, people really seem to connect with the idea of a children's story.
They do, and I do want to ask this one question. You and I very much into our technology. I think many South Africans know you, Murray, as someone deeply embedded in the world of technology. Why go the route of a hardcover book? I mean, it's a beautiful little book, don't get me wrong, but if we're talking technology and online privacy and big data, is there a digital version of this? Can I go and tap on my iPad and find this, or is it only coming out in bookstores?
Well, at the moment, it's primarily a physical book. I think it was just nice to have something that's physical, and the way that children interact with physical books, there is just something different about it. And I also wanted to make sure that a portion of the books could go to reading clubs in South Africa. So about 10% of them have been donated to the Nali Bali campaign's reading clubs. But it will be available in ebook at some point as well. But there is just something about being able to give a child something they can hold on to connect with, to turn the pages, that just felt special to me.
Yeah, I agree. And congratulations, Murray Hunter. Thank you very much indeed for your time coming to speak to us this morning. Boris the BabyBot, author from Cape Town. There, one more look at the book. There it is. Boris the BabyBot, a little book about big data. It's very well written, very clever. Murray Hunter, thanks for your time.